Hello friends, so welcome to another video on the PPM module setup. So now we will start working onto the setups. So this is an implementation project. As a good practice, you would create a project. Within project, you can see here I have added these offerings: project execution management and project financial management. So PFM and PEM, this comprise, both of them togetherly is called PPM. So now we'll start the PFM setups. You would see what all different setups are there, options are there. So definitely some options will be common, which you will also see in the GL or financial setups. So assuming that you have already done those setups, we will not cover them because those are the prerequisites. So define initial users, define initial configuration, define reference sharing. So these are your common setup, of course. Let's start looking into this. So define enterprise for project financial management. So here you will define the locations. Now I have already defined or set up the data. I will take you through what I have set up. So you click on create and then you start working on to or creating a new location. So here I will open up one of the existing location that I have created. So of course you would give your location a name, a code, the detailed address, the location set name, and the country belongs to the postal code. Of course, within the US, the address is verified because there is an existing address service that is uh, available within the Fusion. So it verifies the address that you enter, at least in case of United States. So yeah, you have all the detailed fields over here. You kind of create your address, give it a name and location set. The system is a little bit on the slower side, but you would understand being a development instance, it's a little at the slower side. So manage enterprise HCM information. So of course, an organization, once it is defined, the legal entity is defined, they're also utilized into HCM and the payroll area. So you will define your workday, calendar, etc. in the HCM information. Coming to the next setup, which is to define the legal entities. So legal entity, of course, would be also defined previously. You would ideally select it as a selected scope first, and then you will go to the task. So I have already selected Power Group as my legal entity name. Then I click on to go task. Okay, I'm sorry. It was a legal jurisdiction, so it's not the legal entity. Legal entity setup is down below. So you kind of create a new jurisdiction and select it existing one if it is already available. Here you create a legal address, of course the address for your legal entity. Here in the manage legal entity, you can go to the task and create your legal entity. Again, it would be already defined in the finance as you know, we assume the finance is already set up. So the legal entity name, the power group, as you can see, the detail, the information required is the name, identifier, the start date, whether this is a legal employer and whether this is an payroll unit or payroll is whether processed under this legal entity. And then of course the legal address that we earlier created would be coming here. So, you know, you can map to this particular legal entity. Click save and close. So that is your legal entity. Manage legal entity registrations. Again, the same setups with additional fields of registration code, etc. So you are kind of defining the place of registration, the issuing authority, the address that we already mentioned, the EIN or TIN number, the start and end date, and what's the registered name. You can skip this. These are not mandatory setups, as you can see, but it's a good practice to go through each and every setup available so that you don't miss anything and you understand what setup is, you know, what all setups are available, what all information they look for, which all is mandatory and which all is optional. So this is again HCM related information. You can skip this and move to the next setup, which is define currencies and currency rates. Again, these currencies are already set up as part of the your general ledger setup, the conversion rate type. If you are utilizing or going to use multiple currencies, the daily rates you'll have to define chart of accounts. Again, this is the core setup in the finance. So it is assumed if you're not implementing only the project performance or PPM module, then it is assumed that all the setups are already covered. So the basics finance setup also comes in as a default offering or a default scope within any other offerings that you select. So that is why you would see these setups getting repeated. Accounting, sorry, the organization structure again, the business units, again, the business unit would have already been set up. Manage business unit, here you would have your business unit related details. So I will search, which is already available. Otherwise, you would click on the plus sign and define it. So Power Group BU is what I had created. So it's just the name and the location and the default set. So I have been using the common set and not any LE specific or BU specific set for now. Assign business unit business function. So this particular setup will decide which all functions will be performed under the business unit. So if you see all these different functions that are available, you need to make sure that whichever functions you are going to utilize, those are enabled under the business unit. And this particular business unit is tagged under the primary ledger under this legal entity and the legal entity name. So here if you see the related for PPM is project accounting. Here this is enabled for us. This is what we are going to utilize along with the others. The integration wise you would have uh, the payable invoicing, the procurement requisitioning part, receiving part, payment part will have to be enabled, and of course the customer contract management, because you would have to get into the contract creation at one stage. It's uh, uh, it's needed in terms of any billing that has to be done. The client billing has to be done. The contract definitely has to be coming into the picture. So you have to make sure that for your business unit, the required business functions are enabled. I have enabled them all. Click on save and close. Then manage business unit data access set. So here it is a common setup. If you would see this, so users without the data access and user with data access. Right now I'm clicking on users with the data access. Security context is business unit. I'm selecting my username, which is fusion.demo. I'm searching the existing data access. So you would see here, and for the username fusion.demo, what all different roles have been assigned. So you have to make sure that all PPM module related roles are assigned to this particular user, You have to click on the plus sign and keep adding them. So if I just search with the project, you would see project accountant, project administrator, billing specialist, team member, manager, uh, project creator. All these roles have been assigned with the security context of business unit, and the business unit name of Power Group PU is selected. So this means that this particular user can perform the functionalities or the activities that are covered under this role for this particular business unit. So for any other business unit, you may not be able to perform them. You may not be able to even select that BU because you might not have been, assigned to that particular role for that particular business unit. So that is what this setup means, and it's very important setup in terms of restricting the access. Okay. So here we have assigned all the roles for our business unit. So manage, it was a manage business unit data access for users. Manage business unit set assignment. So here what it tells is, so you would create a different setups, and then those setups when you create, you assign a reference data set to them. All right. So once you assign that data set, it basically pulls up values available to that data set. Here you would see all these setups are using a common reference data set. So whichever values you when you define, so whatever is there under this common will be available when you go to this particular functionality for even the Power Group view. But if you go to customer account site related any functionality, then you would only see the values which are defined on the Power Group reference data set, because that's the data set available for this particular functionality. So that is the meaning of it. You would see mostly it is all common reference data set is assigned, but depending on the security that you would want to implement, you would decide which you would go for any specific reference data set and then assign it to every. So what I mean is, suppose I want to create the contracts, okay, and I have two specific contract types. So the contract type name could be Power Group sell contract, and then when I create that value, I would be the system will ask me to assign a reference data set. If I assign that common here, then it wherever that all the values that are assigned to common will be all coming in while creating the contract. But if I create few values and those are under the reference data set, specific reference data set, and if I assign that reference data set under contract type, then only those few values will be applicable when I create the contract. That is what it means, because this is the set assignment for this particular BU. So under this BU, how these values will get derived, or not derived, but how these values will be available, it will be decided by the reference dataset that is assigned to each of the object or the functional area. Okay, I hope you're getting it. This could sound complicated, but it's very simple, trust me. And these are the security measures that you must cover up. So we have covered that particular part of business unit data access set and unit set assignment. Now, once we are done with that, we go to the workforce structure for project financial management. So you would see the division, the department, they are mandatory, they're not mandatory setups. Organization tree is something you would need. I would take you through that organization trees. If you have any specific jobs, you can create the jobs. Manage departments, you can create a different departments if you have, and then create a tree. Tree is nothing but the structure, the tree structure. So here under organization, you would create one organization structure and create a tree, and under the tree you would have the tree version over there. So it's actually you're giving up giving the tree name. Click on next. Next, if you have any rules, you can do that and submit it out. And a tree version is nothing but you create a version and you can create multiple version. And if you have any nodes to be defined, so you would have any multiple organizations, you can create, click on add and add those values over here and then submit that. Okay, so I'm not creating anything for now. I click on submit. It is successfully updated. You would see the status is draft. You have to come here, you have to click on the actions, you have to set the status to active, but there is one step, you have to do the flattening, the row flattening that has to be done. So this actually you know does a background processing and so it's an online flattening that you have to do. So it organizes your data. You can see here it is progressing. Once it becomes 100%, click on done. You would see the status is still draft. So now the flattening is done. You can do the audit part also. So any new tree structure that you create, it gets audited. Again, you can click on the online audit. It basically looks for the data authenticity or any issues that you have. Again, let's come back and see. So these are all the details. It says audit passed for the tree version, effective date, the names, the labels, etc. So it is looking after all the fields over there and it is doing the validation. Coming back to the status, so I'll make it active. So go here, set status and click on active. Status is set to active. Now you will see it the status has changed to active. Now this is ready to use. Till that it was on the draft mode. We wouldn't have able to use it. Okay, I need to go back to setup and maintenance and projects. Manage implementation projects. I will search for our project power group. So we were into project financial management and the organization trees. So now coming to project organizations, define project unit. So this is a new concept that was introduced in the project in the Fusion PPM module. So project unit, it is kind of a department you can call it. So it is mandatory to have at least one project unit defined. Though you are not going to utilize this functionality, you still will have to define one project unit and you can use that default one. So project units, you may have a different project units, one project unit performing internal projects, one project unit performing any admin related tasks or activities. One maybe unit may be looking after the specific regional candidates, another may be looking after the different regional candidates. So you may have that structure in your organization. So that is to control on that particular aspect, but it is not mandatory to have that structure in place. Instead, what you can do is you can create one default project unit and utilize that in the further setups. Okay, so click on the manage project unit organization. Here you define one name. Okay, you would see that is already defined. Power group project unit. So if you open this up, there is nothing but just a code and the name and save and close. That's it. Within within the project unit options, there will be some important values. Let's go through the unit options. So manage project unit options. Our name is Power Group Project Unit. So I have searched that, and if I click on this or click on edit, so what I'm doing is I'm assigning the default set. I'm utilizing the common set as I mentioned earlier. Now this related business unit is nothing but my power group BU is what is linked to this particular business, sorry, the project unit. And then reporting setup. So what I'm utilizing the requisitions, yes, PO, yes, what's this? Other commitment, excuse me, status wise, which all things has to be will have to be uh, covered up or considered. Then click on save and close. So that is your manage project unit option. Now manage project unit set assignment. So project definition, project transaction type, which data set has to be used. It's a common. I'm not again created any specific data group. So under project unit, if you are creating a project transactions or project creation, then you may have a different data sets. If I mean different values that those are assigned to different data sets. Project unit wise also you can create a data set and then assign it to here. I am not going to that level, detailed levels. Instead of that, I'm using a common one. So these are the three setups related to the project unit, manage project unit or project unit setup. Okay, so I think that's it for project unit as such. Manage hierarchy, organization hierarchy and classification. So here you would see, so these are by default selected. If not, you have to make sure that uh, you know the total organization structure, including these three values: the project expenditure org, project task owning org, and project unit classification are selected. Manage project organization classification. Somebody has used this and they have created uh, more of values with that same name. I'll search if something was fine. Okay, I'll skip this for now. Okay, now define project business unit options. So if you have to define any asset book, you have to make sure that is created. Configure project accounting business function. Here it's a mandatory setup. So selected scope. You have to select here. So it is asking to select your business unit. So select and add, create a new. So I already have one created. So I'll select that business unit name, apply and go to task. Okay, power group. I select on this. If I click on this again, it will take me to that particular setup. I have to click on save and go so that it gets saved, and you would see that the respective setups have now come up. Okay, so project accounting business functions. So here you can select your tree names, versions, if at all those needs to be used. Coming here, there is no hierarchy I'm mentioning. I'm saying that, start organization is all organizations. There is no hierarchy that I have defined. Corporate rate, costing, default asset book, if any. Use different accounting and project accounting periods. So no, I'm just going to use the same accounting calendar which is defined in the general ledger. You generally have a separate option to, or a separate calendar that can be defined in the project accounting module or PPM module also, right? So I have defined a power calendar, but I'm not using that as a separate. I'm just keeping it the one which is there in the GL. For the practice purpose, I did create one calendar. Coming to the advanced, anything on the cross charge, how your cross charge would look like. Is it a borrowed on lent type of account that you will use or not? And any other processing method that has to be there. Under the project unit, I have selected my project unit. That's it. And save and close. Now this particular program, business a job submit process to maintain project organization. So all the setups that you have done till now, basically this particular job schedule process will take care, and it will maintain the structure, make sure everything is in sync, and then again the data access, if you have to be doing it. So you can submit that maintain project one. So again, this is the the same setup you would see here. The users without data access, with the data access, select your user and add the different roles that are needed. Okay, so these are I'll stop this particular session here. Don't want to overload in one single session. So we'll cover up the remaining setups in the next video. Uh, and there are many other setups yet to be done. So stay tuned, and we'll catch up in the next sessions for the remaining setups. Hope you're liking the video. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comments. Thank you.